Alright guys, just getting out of the shower, having some time to relax and unwind. I've been busy all day. I did a lady's vents and blinds. Blinds take a while if you do them right, guys. They really do. If they're dirty and you have to clean them, they take a while. So anyways, I was gonna go back to Cross and Crown Church and hold the pastor accountable, right, for the way he's been. What an ass. I'm telling you, I have never met a pastor who's such an ass in my life. Um, when I had sent an email to the office to Jenny over there, Pastor Rob over there intervened in an email. I was talking to her about how rude he was. And in the end, he's like, this is where we help. We help at Mercy's Gate. And I'm like, whoopity-doo. Mercy's Gate. Are you serious? You get two $10 gas cards for the whole year. And they went on and on. And I'm like, I think the Good Samaritan had help with a hotel. He had help with grocery cards. He had some long-term help. Whatever he needed was the story. And that was not for a member of the church. That was for the enemy. For an enemy, right? For the average Joe, because I think the pastor or priest walked by the Samaritan, if I remember the story right. He said he was too busy doing his job serving God, so he couldn't help him. A lot like this church, guys. So in the end of the email, he put something like, oh, you can just depend on God, as if I don't, first of all. And that is very, very freaking rude. And who is he to tell me what I should be doing, right? So I don't even know the guy. Freaking asshole if I've ever seen one in my whole entire life. Honestly, guys, I usually do not use this language, but I have never met such a jerk in my life. So I'm like, well, just go to church and avoid the pastor. He's an ass. There's no point. There is no question about it. Avoid him, right? I thought the first guy was one too. So then I'm like, just go to church and enjoy other people, right? So then I, when I had said to a deacon, I said, hey, I was told to talk to you. And he's like, oh, go talk to Mike Hegeseth or something like that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I was told to reach out to you, right? So he gives me his Life Network card. And he's like, okay, you can call me and contact me here. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm trying to contact him, and I'm sure some people watch my videos here already, because he had turned just like that. And he was like, hey, I didn't get any answer from him. And he's like, he's the guy who asked me how I knew Jack, a deacon named Jack. There's two deacons named Jack, and one of them sounds like a name from New Hampshire. And I'm like, and I told this story, I met him here, and he kept pushing that. And then, so, I was going to go to church, and then he goes, yeah, I like to keep my business separate from church stuff. So could you not call me? Could you not email me? And I know you didn't know this because I didn't tell you. And he goes, but could you not do that and go back to Jack? So I said to Jack, I go, hey, Jack, Mike's not available. Can I talk to you? And his wife gets on there, and she's like, he's not available, sorry. And I'm thinking, okay, Jack just texted me too, like a few minutes before, telling me that, they'll have to look at things again, kind of thing. So the whole thing was totally confusing, guys. And this is just one tiny thing that I asked about. This isn't even getting into going to this church regularly, getting to know people, any spiritual issue, no, nothing major, right? So come to find out, this guy Mike, okay, after all this, he's at Life Network, and he is in charge of donor relations. Do you know what that is, guys? That's the guy who helps coordinate their pro-life gala that they have, their banquets that they have that I've been to. This is the guy who helps ask for money, right? Something I could do because I did do stuff for Save the Storks. So, I was telling him about my heart for pro-life, and he goes, oh, you know Brenda. And he goes, do you know Brenda? And I think I had mentioned her, and I go, yeah. And he goes, do you mind if I talk to her and mention you? And I'm like, you can if you want, you know. He wanted to connect me somehow with her. And I said, I don't know what she thinks of me, but the only problem I had there is at Life Network, someone said I would have had to be sex trafficked in order to have a forced abortion. And I had put up a stink with that. And I told them that. I said that they had no right to say that to me. Since then, since I had to put up a stink, you know, and Brenda didn't really deal with it at first, I had to put up a stink again about it. She finally said, well, we're not really talking about your situation. So, this is the kind of stuff, guys, that goes on in churches, pro-life movements. So I'm being told I have to depend on God as a woman. A little bit of misogyny there. And Mike, in charge of donor relations, can call people, and they can have their donor relation person call people and ask for money and ask for donations. Big amounts, guys, big amounts. And this church is very rich. They got money, and they also have debt from their building. They have some debt, and it's okay for churches to do this, I guess. So I had talked to one lady last week, and she's like, yeah, we can't help because we ended up getting in debt with a big building, and we don't have a lot of people coming. That's pretty honest, guys. That's pretty honest. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you anyways. So when you get into these churches, especially these know-it-all rich churches, you end up seeing what's behind the curtain, so to say. And I said, you know, I'd like to see you survive on this much. You know, I'd like to see you do this. And I said, and I'd also like to see your budget and where your money goes. So I got no response. I told him good day anyways. I did say good day. And he's like, you know, we don't answer to anyone but God. And I said, you better believe you're going to answer to God. And I said, I will be talking to God about you. I will be praying, and God answers my prayers usually. So I prayed the guy would actually have a heart attack. I really did, guys. I do not like this guy at all. And I wish nothing but the worst on this guy. I mean, he came across as Mr. Macho, Mr. Know-it-all, Mr., you know, pastor who has all the right to say whatever he wants. So I'm like, Melissa, why would you go back to a church like that, right? And then after seeing this guy, Mike, with his attitude, with, you know, it's not even more Mike as it is so much the church, you know, that they can ask for plenty of money, but a woman, you know, who might need something and they don't know me cannot ask. So, I just find the hypocrisy blaring, guys. I really do. And I'm not talking about all churches. There are a lot of good churches there. I have a general belief of the church, okay? But as far as all the in and outs and everything they do and all the dirtiness I see sometimes with pastors being in pornography, I'd like to see where their budget is. I really would, and see where these pastors put their money. So, you know, even if, let's say for an example, let's say I was at that church and I was using them, and that's not the case. But if I was using them, so what? So what? They were super defensive. They're like, we don't know you. So what? Jesus says, all right, if you're following God, which they're being very unbiblical, Jesus says, if somebody asks you for your cloak, give it to them. If somebody wants you to walk a mile, walk 2 miles with them. So I don't know where they get off thinking we don't want to be used by anybody, right? If you get used by people, Jesus actually tells you to get used. Go ahead and someone slaps you on the cheek, give them the other cheek, right? So, so because of the hypocrisy, guys, I don't think I can step back into that church. I've heard 2 sermons from them. One was online and one was in person. And I'm like, okay, that's not real meaty. You know, that's not real meaty. What did you just, you didn't give a whole lot there. You gave a couple paragraphs. You didn't really dig in a whole lot. So, you know, it's just unbelievable to me what these churches get away with, really, in the name of being a pastor. So I remember someone said to me a long time ago, you know, your kids are not too good for school, which of course they're not, but I wanted to homeschool. And sometimes they said people who don't go to church are better than the ones who do go to church. And let me tell you, I can attest to that. I have seen a lot of rotten stuff in churches. So I just keep my eyes on God. And the other thing is, what's disappointing right now is Kirk Cameron is in the news, and he has taken a stance on hell that is not very biblical. So Ken Ham is debating him. People are coming out all over the internet. And I am a fan of Kirk Cameron's, and it is now like Jesus says in the end, before he comes, he's going to separate the wheat and the the tares and everything. So to see Kirk Cameron compromise on theology is really disappointing to me. So guys, just watch your own back. Watch, we're supposed to watch our brothers too, but the church obviously doesn't like that part of the Bible. They like to cherry pick what they have to do. So yeah, I got right in there, and I'm like, Mercy's Gate, they only help with part of your rent once a year. They only help with partial of your utilities, and they make it very difficult to get help there. And I told them that too. I go, you guys make it really difficult to get any help. You have to go through the ringer guys. And then they're like, well, we help Crossfires Ministries. Well, usually they give two meals, like 2 things of meat. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you really help. So these are the people who boast about everything they do in a church. And they're like the people on the street that say, Lord, Lord, look at this. Look at what we did. We gave to Mercy's Gate. We gave to this. We gave to Life Network. We gave to them. Look at us. I didn't ask who they gave to. I don't really care. I had a need. I brought it before them. They didn't want to help. And then there was a person who helped. And he said that they could not get the money from the Deacons Fund right away. So he personally, and his wife would take care of it. So then they pulled them in to say that the church helped, when it was very clear it was very personal. So so yeah, he was a real jerk on the phone. He's like, I'm going to give you grocery certificates. I didn't ask for it. He goes, do you want that? And I go, look, this is what I'm talking about. I said I'm going to send you grocery certificates. Well, first he said he'd give them to me. I said, you want me to limp my van over? I'm going to give you grocery certificates, he says. You want them or not? And I mean, he was just trying to cover his butt with those grocery gift cards, right? So in the email he puts, we not only helped you with this, but we gave you gift cards. And I'm like, yeah, you breadcrumbed me is what you did. So guys, when you get into a church, you see all this stuff and the way they are. Someone's going by. So watch your back in church, guys. That's all I gotta say. You got people in there, like some people invited me in. They're doing the work of God. Very welcoming, very good at teaching. You got those who build in the church and those who tear down. Then you got like someone like a pastor totally tearing people down, who walk in the door. I mean, I didn't even do anything. I didn't even see this pastor face to face. I don't even know him. And he started tearing me down. So you got people in the church who do God's will, and you got those who don't. And I was told a long time ago, stay away from the negative people in church, which I do. So can you imagine if I did something serious? Can you imagine if I did something? I mean, how do they deal with people like that? So to turn people off like that, I cannot recommend that church. I really can't. And it's too bad. It's too bad, because there are some good churches around here. There are some really good churches, but there's a few really awful ones, and they are one of them. Okay, thanks for joining me, guys.